Hi, how are you doing today? Gloria here, Gloria Michael. How are you doing today? Drop in the chat where you're joining us from, where you are listening from. And if you're watching the replay right now, also drop in the comment, just say hi, Gloria, and tell me what you've learned from this segment. All right, today I am going to talk to you about retention in customer success. But before then, let me do a bit of introduction, then we'll go dive into what we have for today. Is that okay? If you have any question around customer success or retention, I am your best person to go to, right? So don't hesitate. You can just link with me on LinkedIn, Gloria Michael, on Instagram, Gloria Michael, customer success, on TikTok. I'm still very new on that, so I can't remember the, but if you look for Gloria or TS book or something like that. But yeah, so you get it. So yeah, you can just link with me, DM me, let's just chat and just talk some good stuff about customer success. So again, hi, my name is Gloria Michael. I'm a customer success leader with over 8 years experience helping fintech and SaaS company build strong, loyal customer relationship across Africa. But beyond my title, what drives me is transforming how businesses support, retain, and grow with their customers, especially in emerging markets like ours, especially in emerging market like Nigeria, where trust and experience matters deeply. And I am passionate about building customer-centric systems that empower teams and deliver measurable impact. I love what really, so the work I love is work that solves real problems and put people first, like designing playbooks, coaching customer success teams. I currently have my Switch to Tech as a customer success manager online course. So if you want to deep dive into the field, you should definitely take the course. And one thing I also love doing is scaling retention strategies. And that is what we are talking about today's topic, right? Retention strategies. So right now, I'm excited to like just walk you through on what customer or what retention is to customer success manager and how you can actually scale from there. So let's dive in. You can also introduce yourself and let's just have a good time, all right? So are you ready? Are you ready? Let's dive in. Let's dive in. So today, like I said earlier, we're talking about retention for customer success managers. What does that mean? Can you like scribble somewhere what that really means? Can you scribble somewhere what that means? All right, so let's just deep dive into what we have for today. So by way of introduction, excuse me. By way of introduction to what retention is and what you should expect from this session. So by the end of this, let's say an hour or less than that, you will be able to understand what retention means, why it's the most important job of a customer success manager, where retention ideas actually came from, the scope of retention work, and the key metrics to watch as a CSM, and how you as a CSM can also set effective KPIs, so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot, right? So you can own it by yourself, not like what other people are saying. Okay. So I used to think that getting customers was the hardest part. Don't you think so too? Yeah, but a few years after being in this space, working in customer success, I learned the real win is keeping customers long term. I want to show you why retention matters more than ever and why retention matters more than logos, right? And how you can own it as a CSM. Imagine you owning your CSM, your retention strategies and retention journey. How does that really sound? Right, so that's what we're going to go deep dive into today. So, what is retention? The big question, what is actually retention that we've been talking about? Right? So The simple definition is retention is the ability of a company to keep customers over time, right? Let's say you've been working with company A, or let's say you've been working with Google, and for the past 5 years, you guys have gained 1 million customers, and you have retained those customers, or those customers are still with you. Those same customers are still with you today. That is retention. All right. If you have been able to keep 40%, 60%, that's the retention rate, right? So if customers stay and keep paying, retention will be high. But if they leave, retention will be low. And that is another word we call churn. Probably in another episode of this, I'll talk to you about what churn is and how you can mitigate that. So a simple example would be, let's say a SaaS product with about 95% annual retention rate, right? Right? So that means they keep 95% of their customers, or 95 out of their 100%, 100 customers after 1 year. That is what it means. Because when you say here annual, that is yearly. All right. So and the 95%, that means they're keeping 95 of their 100 customers, right? So retention is measured for customers and revenue. So when you're measuring retention, what are the two things you look at? You're going to look at customers retention, and you're going to look at revenue generation. All right. Or revenue retention and customer retention. So those are the two main things you look at when you're talking about retention and how you can move on with retention. So retention is a team outcome. That is one thing I want you to know again. Retention is not just for the CSM department, or is the whole team. CSM, of course, will play a major role, but product, sales, marketing, support all affect retention, right? If you don't put out the right product, if you don't advertise, if you don't, maybe during your lead generation, you brought in bad fit customers. At the end of the day, they are going to leave. And if you are working in support and maybe a customer complain about something, instead of you being polite and using the various framework to resolve the customer's issue, you decide to like be rude to the customer. The customer will probably get angry and stop doing business with you. All right. So everything and everybody in the department, on the team, they all have a part to play when it comes to retention, including marketing. All right. So that is one thing I want you to know. And why retention? Why, when we talk about why are we talking about retention and all that? Excuse me. Why are we always talking about retention? Why are we talking about retention? And before we even deal with that, let's talk about the original. When did we first hear about customer retention? What does that even mean? The origin of retention in customer success. Why did we not say, oh, retention is now our thing, right? You can drop in the chat if you have any idea about this. So, retention thinking grew from subscription. So the way we start thinking about retention is it grew from subscription and SaaS businesses, that is software as a service businesses, right? As recurring revenue model rose, companies realized keeping customers was more sustainable than always finding new ones. Imagine a typical example is Netflix. Imagine if Netflix will have to go out every month to bring in people that will subscribe to their platform every month, while the old one or existing one stop doing business with them. Are you saying that? So that is how that thinking came that, oh, we need to actually bridge this gap. Instead of trying to acquire new customers every time, what else can we do? So customer success as a discipline mature to focus on outcome and long-term value. Unlike salespeople, once they've closed that deal, their money have changed hands. They are good and they're done. They've probably gotten their tag, they've probably gotten their commission and they're good. But for customer success as a discipline, we are more focused on outcomes and long-term value. And that is why we are the ones in charge per se of of retention. So the scope of retention is like onboarding. The first thing when you're talking about retention or where you need to start your journey is onboarding that actually helps the customer get value. I'm not saying you should do 100 steps, 200 steps. No, that's not what I'm talking about. The scope of retention is really onboarding that actually help the customer get value quickly. So when you're talking about retention, you need to look into onboarding first. What are the things that probably will help the customer get value fast or faster? All right. Proactive engagement is another thing you're going to look at. That is preventing problems before they become churn. So you are proactively engaging with the customers so it will not be a problem before they now start reaching out to you or they are tired and they'll start doing business with you. All right. And another thing is risk identification and mitigation. As a CSM, you're always going to be looking at your the risk aspect on your dashboard. Are they in the green zone, your health score? Are they in the green zone? Are they in the yellow zone? Are they in the red zone? Whichever zone they are all different ways to mitigate and to manage it, right? So retention also covers risk identification and mitigation. When you're also talking about uh, retention, you can't do without talking about renewals and expansion conversation. Because the only way we know that, oh, this person is being retained is when they renew. It's not just one time off, right? It's when they renew and they subscribe again and expansion happens again. Expansion is simply like two things, either upsell or cross-sell. And that is simply cross-sell is when customer A came for apple, and at the end of the day, he's buying other fruits that probably he'll use for smoothie, complementary products that he'll use for smoothie or something like that, right? Why upsell is, oh, I bought 20 apple today. My children are coming from school. Now I need to buy more, right? So that is upsell. So when you're having discussion around retention, it's so crucial to talk about renewals and expansion conversation. Have that conversation, and also you need to talk about feedback loop to product and to operations. How do you the feedback from the customers? How do you manage that? That is another thing that's going to keep customers coming day in, day out. It's not when they tell you, oh, this thing is not functioning, this thing is not working. What do you do about it? All right. So that will keep them coming back. So these are the things. And the last but not the least, I want to talk about when it comes to scope is reporting and learning from churn cases. So everything is an avenue for you to learn as a customer success manager. So if churn is happening, you need to look into it. Oh, what is going on? Why are we having that? You learn from that process, report it to the or necessary departments, manager, right? And then you just walk around it. What can we learn from this thing? We saw that this people are living every day from the product. Is it our pricing? Is it the product itself? Is it the way we communicate with them? So if you know that, you now be able to like handle it. So retention is not just an activity or it's not just one activity. It's like all these things I've mentioned together. So it's a program that touches the whole customer life cycle. So whenever you're thinking about retention, it's not just a touch point. It's the whole thing, like the whole customer life cycle from the beginning, that is onboarding down to loyalty, how you interact, how you manage, what are the things you need to do to trigger them to stay with you consistently or to keep doing business with you. So if you're thinking about retention, that's how to look at it. Does that make sense? All right. If you have any question, do well to ask your question either on the chat right now, or you can just shoot me a DM and we'll get to talk about this. All right. All right. So why does retention matter? Why does it matter to you as a CSM? Why does it matter to your boss and all that? Why? So retention, right? One of the, I'll probably give you two or three reasons why retention i- i- is is important. And the first one is revenue efficiency. So when customers are retained, it's cheaper than acquiring new ones. There's a statistic that says the cost of acquiring new customers is more acquiring new customers is more expensive than keeping the existing ones, right? And renewals and expansion drives predictable income. Why is your business or your company in business? Because they want to make money. And one way to do that is through retention. When there is retention, there's renewal and there's expansion. That means there's more money or there's predictable money or income. So let's say you already have existing customers of 10 in this month. And because you're so sure that they are going to be retained, you know they vaguely you can calculate the amount that you're going to make next year. So it's predictable. Instead of waiting for luck or chance, you already know how it is. So that is why retention is very important, revenue efficiency, and it helps to, just make sure that we have a predictable income. Another reason why retention is so important is growth multipliers. Small improvement in retention compounds over time, less than churn, and it will give you more ways to grow, right? So small improvement in retention compounds, right? Instead of you doing dancing on IG and doing all sort of marketing campaigns and tactics, just you doing a little check-in with your customers, you are retaining the existing one already, and they are talking to their friends, their colleagues, and all that, right? The third one, why we know it's important for us to have retention is, or why retention really matters is signal of product market fit. When customers are using your product, just the way everybody is using ChatGPT right now, there are so many other AI like that in the market, LLMs, but ChatGPT is topping because the product is fit for the market. So when customers are retained, when customers continually do business or come to your platform every single time, they understand from there you do that, oh, this product is actually for this market. That means anytime you see customers staying with you, what they are saying indirectly is this product is delivering value. They are getting value from that product, and that is good for business. And that is why retention really matters. When you get your retention right, it will signal that, oh, your product is fit for the market. And another one I probably give is referrals and advocacy. So when retention is done right, let's say you've been servicing like 20 customers well for the past 5 months, they will definitely be happy to refer their friends to you, their colleagues to you, and just because you're good to them. So happy long-term customers recommend you, creating organic growth. And every business want that kind because they're not forced. They know why they are there. They're getting value. All right. They're getting value from the product. And these are the few reasons why retention is actually important. If you have any question about this, please do well to let me know. I've already spoken about the scope of customer success where I mentioned onboarding experience. What are the things that will help you achieve what is included in a retention? What are the things you need to do from, let's say, your onboarding down to expansion to ensure customers are being retained, right? So I've spoken about this. So I won't go there again. You can just zoom back. This is zoom back, they call it. Yes, you can zoom back to just get that. So let's go over this right now. So as a customer success manager, right? What are the key metrics to you and your understanding? I probably won't be able to do much around here. What are the key metrics you as a CSM can use to measure or understand your churn rate? The first one, of course, you know this already, churn rate, customer churn. How many customers or what percentage of customers leave during a period of time, right? So if you want to calculate it, it's more like How many customers were lost? Let's say you want to calculate churn or retention from January till right now, right? How many of your customers were lost during that from that January till now? And how many customers did you start with? So you're going to divide the number of customers you lost, divide it by the customers you started the period with. Once you have gotten that, you multiply it by 100. That will give you your retention rate. So that's one of the metrics we use to understand or to measure what retention is all about. All right. So if you start, let's say you started the year with 100 customers and five left, or I stop doing business with you. So what is now the churn there now is what? Five over or five divided by 100, excuse me, five divided by 100 times 100. So the answer is going to be five. So your retention rate is 5%, which is very bad for a business. Oh, sorry. I just realized what I just said. So what we are doing, that means the churn rate is 5%. If your churn rate is 5%, that means you are retaining for 95% of your customers, which is very good, pardon me, which is actually very good. So if your churn rate is low, that means your retention is high. And if your retention is high, that means your churn rate is low. Do you understand? Another metric we use in measuring retention is retention rate itself. That is the percentage of customers that were retained during a period. From the one I talk about churn, you probably understand what this is all about, right? If you want to measure this, all you need to do is customers at the end of a period. Let's say you said you from January till right now. How many customers do you have right now? How many new customers were acquired during that period? You now divided with the customers or the number of customers you have or you started the year with. Once you divide that, whatever you get multiplies by 100. All right, multiply by 100, it will give you your retention rate. So a typical example will probably be, let's say you started the year with 100 customers. Then along the line, you gain 10 people or 10 customers. And at the end of the day, how many do you have? And at the end of the day, uh, let's say 103 customers were left. For you to calculate that now, all once you add all those things, you at the end you have 103. That 103 minus 10%, that is the customers you 10, that is the customers you gain. Then you multiply it by 100, then multiply the answer by 100. You get what? 93%. So your retention rate is 93%, which is very healthy and very good. Another metric we use is when measuring customer retention is net revenue retention. We don't use that majorly here. We don't use that majorly here, but then it's one of the metrics you use to monitor retention, right? If either you're losing money or you're losing customers or you're retaining them. So this shows if existing customers are spending more or less over time. So it includes expansion, contraction, and even churn revenue. All right, churn revenue. So I probably won't tell you the formula for it. But if you want to know the NRR, NRR is simply when you want to get your NRR is how many customers did you start the year with? How many customers expanded? Then you minus or remove the contraction and the churn customer and the churn MRR. MRR is monthly, while the other our net is something you do is the net revenue or retention revenue you got, right? Yes. All right. Another metric you look at is time to value. That is how quickly customers see meaningful benefit from your product or your services. So whenever you see that customers have shorter time to value, that means it's a good thing. That means let's say a customer that came to buy something before 5 minutes, he has done quack, 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 and he has left. That is a good one because you are effective. But if a customer is been waiting, probably they won't come back again, right? So if your time to value is short, within 24 hours, depending on your industry, that means you guys are putting the work, right? It could mean other thing, but that is majorly what it's saying. So think of it like if customers see value in 7 days versus when they see value in 30 or 60 days, they are likely to stay, right? So if the customer sees value, depending on the product, please, if it's a fintech, you should be able to see value within the first 5 minutes, or if you want to be generous, within the first 1 day. All right. So that is one metric we look at again. And the last one, but not the least, is customer health score. All right. There are so many metrics you can actually use. You can also use the customer satisfaction score and net promoter score. I won't go through that. I won't go through that so that I'll be able to end this up. All right, you can just look this up later. And another thing, another metric you can use is expansion. Of course, you know this, you have to use expansion revenue to be able to like see how customers retain, because customers, when you retain a customer, they won't just be buying that product. They probably will buy complementary product. Maybe they have more staff. They'll not get more of that product, right? So yes. So the thing I'll probably put this, I know I've mentioned about 7 different metrics you can use to measure your retention rate, but please do not try to do everything. Don't try to track every single detail or every single data. Don't track everything. Start, if I were you right now, start with 3 metrics for your team. If you're a team lead, start maybe the major time to value, customer satisfaction score, the ones that are probably easy for you to measure. There's no reason why you say you want to do NRR and you won't be able to measure it because you don't have the data, right? So it's always advisable that don't try to track everything. Start with, let's say, core metrics. Let's say you can do with churn, you can start with TTV, that is a time to value, health score as well. Then from there you can now expand. And now expand to other things. All right. How is it so far? Are you learning something new? Are you learning something new? Are you learning something good new? You can drop a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know how you are learning this, or should we skip? And another thing is setting KPIs. How do you set KPI? You use the first thing is use SMART. Do you remember your SMART goal? Yes. We are not, it's not going to, we're not leaving it at that level. We're bringing it all the way up here in customer success. All right. So you use specific. So in case you want to set your KPI, key performance indicators as a CSM for, let's say, retention, what are the things you need to consider? The first thing is you have to use your SMART goal setting principle. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable. It has to be achievable. It has to be relevant to what you are discussing or what you want to achieve. And it has to be time bound. So you cannot just wake up and like, oh, because Gloria spoke about retention today, I'm going to reduce churn for my team. It doesn't really make sense. But when you say, oh, I'm going to reduce for the past, since I've learned retention from Gloria, I'm going to reduce monthly churn from 3% to 2% within 6 months. Do you see how hyper specific it is? It is measurable, the timeline. Is it achievable? Yes, of course. Is it relevant? Of course it is, because you're trying to reduce retention. Okay, so if we're setting up KPI, sorry, please. So if you are setting up KPI, the first thing I want you to consider is using SMART goal. And another thing I want you to do is start with the baseline data. Know what is your current churn? What is your NRR? What is your TTV? Before setting your target, don't just wake up and set your target. Just know, are people churning? What is my TTV? And all those things, then you pick up from there. And the last in this line is probably pick owner and cadence. When you're setting your KPI, don't just, oh, we're all going to achieve this as a department today. No, in as much as you say that, define people that will be in charge of the various things, right? Each KPI needs a single owner, often the CSM or team lead, right? So you need to be able to pick a owner for every task on the retention map, right? and a reporting cadence as well. Are you going to be reporting in monthly, weekly, or quarterly? So you need to determine that. I said that should be the last, but I'll mention this, then we'll move on. Because I'm talking about how before you set up KPI, or I said you need to set smart goal, but in this case, you need to set smart KPI. It has to be specific, right? So, and the second thing I mentioned was what? Can you remember? Go back to it and read it again. You have to start with the baseline data. Don't just wake up and you want to start doing the big things, big things. Start with the little ones you can track, like churn. How many people start doing business with you since from this time to this time? The other one I mentioned is peak owner and cadence. Don't just say, oh, don't no, don't vibe along with it. All right. The another one is target and leading indicators. Understand your target and leading indicators, right? Set an outcome target. So reduce churn by 1% in 3 months, and 3 to 4 leading indicators you control. So that's how you do it. The onboarding, was it completed within 7 days? Or what's the percentage of customers with health score red customer with health score red decrease? If you see that it has decreased to red, then you need to do something. Okay, what are the other things you need to do before setting your KPI? For maybe your retention or even any other thing you're doing for your churn management to follow up and all, you need to understand, keep KPIs few and actionable. Don't just make it ambiguous or fancy so that you impress other people. At the end of the day, if you cannot carry out what you mentioned, then you have turned to being a liar. That's not a good name. All right. Keep your KPI simple and with few and actionable steps, right? So many would dilute your focus. So 3 meaningful KPIs by your CSM. Let's say you have 4 CSM or you are the only CSM. Just pick one first, then you move on. All right. So if you want to set KPI, you need to also build plan to reach them. How do you intend to reach your KPI? Right? How do you intend to reach your KPI? By reducing churn, by reducing time to value. Those are the things you can do to actually build how to be able to reach your desired goal of setting KPI. All right, does that even make sense? Do you understand what we have been talking about so far? Do you understand what we've been talking about so far? What are the challenges of retention? Why is I know we talk about it most time. How do we manage? How do we cope? How do we even do all those things? Right? What in your own word, tell me, what are the challenges of retention? Why is your retention not up to 100%? Let me know in the chat. I'd love to read from you. 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 So I was saying that retention challenges, right? Lack of clear, one of the reason why we encounter or challenges that impact or affect retention is lack of clear onboarding system. Let's say you want to onboard a customer, everything goes like company A, there's no structure, there's no system, there's no way. That's a big challenge for retention. If the retention is going to be affected, also when you have poor customer engagement, that's why you need to employ professionals. It's not just about, oh, get anybody to man your business. No, you're there to make money. So you need to have trained people. I currently run training for small businesses. If you want to train your staff, if you want to train anybody within your organization. We do that as well. I do that as well. So you can also shoot me a DM. Let's finalize the deal so that your customer engagement will not be poor. All right. I'll give you strategies. I'll give you templates and frameworks you can use to make sure every conversation is holistic and nobody is lying elsewhere. So one of the other challenges that have impact or affect retention is no visibility into customer health. You don't know the health score of your customers. You're just vibing all around. You don't know if they are ready to churn, if they are not going to churn. You don't just know. Everything goes. All right. So that's one of the things that affect retention. Okay. And also, the last thing I'll say in this category is one of the things or the challenges of retention is when team focus on sales and not outcomes. Oh, setting 1 billion target, setting 2 billion target. Really, is that what you need? But you need for you to keep those customers coming back, you need to, you need to have a proper customer uh, service success program in place. All right. The role of customer success, the role of a CSM in retention. Why are they calling us? Why is everybody like? Because we are the advocate for the customers. We are the ones advocating for the customers we're in between the customer and the internal team. So we are always advocating for them. That's one of the things we do. We advocate for our customers, being the voice of the customers. And also we monitor accounts regularly. Especially when you have branches all over Nigeria, don't expect the CEO to come and do that. As a CSM, our core function is also monitor accounts regularly. Another thing you do that is your function when it comes to retention is you anticipate risk before churn happens. You are seeing tricks already. You're seeing traces. Instead of you waiting for something bad to happen, customer leaving, you anticipate that already before it happens and you're able to mitigate or manage that situation, right? And what other thing do? We drive value, we build trust, and we secure renewals. That's one of the things we do. We're always in contact and building relationship with the customer. So it's easy to always make sure that we build trust with them and make sure that we secure renewals and deals from them. So that is what, like right now, if you don't know what the CSM do in retention, these are the things you should start doing. Advocating for your customers, monitor their account regularly, what is good, what is not good, how can I make them feel better, how can I help them achieve their outcome. Then you anticipate risk. Okay, this thing that is doing like this, is it that it's bad? Once you see it's bad and you confirm, reach out to those and help out. Okay. All right. So let's go further. So by way of recap, we've talked about retention. Retention is the heart of customer success, no doubt. And software as a service model make retention non-negotiable because you need your customers to keep coming back to the same product because they don't own it. And success is more like using the right metrics and right KPIs to guide your action. So whatever you do in customer success, make sure you're using the right metrics and the right KPI to guide your actions. Your role as a CSM is to keep your customers successful, is to keep your customers happy, and to keep your customers engaged. That is the role of the customer success manager. Anything above this is not really in that scope. Hope this has been helpful. Again, my name is Gloria Michael, and if you want to transition into customer success manager, customer success in this age and time, I am your best person. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I'll pick it up from there. All right, so that is all for today. Do well to follow and subscribe to my channel. Retention is where value lives. Start by measuring what matters. Set one clear KPIs after another. You can impact this month and report progress weekly. All right. Thank you so much for listening again. I have questions for you, but I'll probably do it another time because of time. Have a delight for delight. But I would love to really hear from you.